Hi, I'm Josh, Wild Nature Photo Travel, and this is an unboxing video. But this is not just any unboxing video. This is going to be an unboxing video of the brand new BenQ SW272U 4K Adobe RGB monitor. Now, there are two new versions of this monitor that are just about to come on the market. This is the high-end version. This is the true 4K version. And actually, this is a limited edition version. So I'm told there's something special about this particular model that's inside this box. So I'm kind of excited and looking forward to opening this in a minute. But if you want to know the full specs for these, I'm not going to repeat them now in the video. You can pick those up online on the website. We'll put a super up that will have a link to the SW272Q and the SW272U, which is the one I'm going to unbox right now. So I've been sitting on this monitor for about a week, waiting for today so that I can unbox this and see just what the limited edition surprise nature is. So let's get into it and have a little bit of a look. Now, all of these monitors, when they ship, are shipped in these very sturdy, very rugged cardboard boxes. So inside it, the very first thing you're going to find when you open this is an individual calibration report. So it's included in a small envelope here. And this is a very, very important piece of information because this tells you the specifics of this individual monitor. So unlike most monitors on the market, when these ship, every single one is individually tested and a report is generated. And this report tells you all about the monitor, that it met the standards, what its delta E is, what its color temperature was, and there's an individual one of these for every single monitor. So I'm just going to pop that one aside for the moment and let's get further into the unboxing. It's like Christmas. So I'm going to take all the pieces for the lens hood and the lens shade out of the box just so that we can get to the actual monitor, and then I'll assemble it and we'll put it all together and see what we've got. I think that's just packaging. I think I found what was special about this video. This is the base for the new monitor, and it has a nice leather finish to it, but it also has my name on it. So that's kind of cool. Thank you, BenQ. That's very much appreciated. That's going to look very, very nice in my studio. That's a beautiful finish. Clearly it's been beautifully laser engraved and finished in leather. So that's very, very nice and very much appreciated. And then inside the box now, we just have the monitor. So before I take that out, I think what I'll do is set up the stand so that we can get the monitor straight out of the box and onto the stand. It's a very nice stand and no tools required to put it together. So that's kind of nice too. So the stand itself took me literally, as you saw, just a few seconds to put together. No tools required, simply screw in from the bottom with the screw that's included, and it has a hand tightener on it. And now we're ready to actually fit the display. You can see on here there are a couple of alignment pins. It's simply a matter of clicking in and done. Already installed. Take off the protective cover. Now these are 27-inch. This is the 27-inch display. As I said, full 4K, Adobe RGB, so I think it's like 99.99% Adobe RGB, so almost the full gamut, which is ideal for photographers working in the Adobe RGB or Pro Photo color space. One other very, very important thing about this monitor is it's an anti-glare finish on the front. So if you're making prints and you're doing screen to print comparisons, this is what you want to have. This is the ideal solution because you're not comparing a glossy screen against a matte print. So that's always something that I'm always looking for in my high-end monitors. So let's have a look at the rest of the unboxing. We'll just pop this aside. These are fully adjustable, by the way, up and down. Simply like that, so it can be set to the right height. I've still got a couple of boxes here to go. This one is the actual lens shade hood. We'll come to that in a minute. This box, I think, is going to be cables and software. So we have a cloth for cleaning the screen, setup instructions, and connection cables, including power cable, and the HotKey key. I'm going to talk about that in a little minute and what that does, because that's a little gem of a product. I think what I'm going to do now is get this set up, get it running, and then we'll talk a little bit about the HotKey and some of the other features, as well as the lens shade hood. So we're just about set up now. We've got the monitor set up, we've got the lens shade on, took me just a few moments to assemble that. I've got power to the monitor, and if you've owned a previous BenQ monitor, you'll know what this device is. This is called the HotKey Puck, and on all previous BenQ monitors, this used to connect to the monitor via USB. Not so on the new SW272U. Now, this unit is wireless, so you no longer need to plug a cable into it. It takes a couple of AA batteries in the back, and it's wireless, so now it can just sit off to one side. What is that for? I'll come to that in just a minute if you don't know. I'm just going to finish connecting up the rest of the cables to my computer screen. So we've got a couple of different USB cables and options to connect via. I'll get that going and we'll be right back. Okay, we're up and running now with a laptop plugged in via USB-C. One of the really cool things about working from a laptop with a high quality photo monitor like this, particularly the BenQ one, is I don't actually need to plug my laptop into power now. It's being charged by the monitor while I work because the monitor's plugged into power, the laptop's picking up power from the USB-C. So that's a very, very nice, cool feature, and it's one less cable to have to worry about if you're working remotely or even if you're working in the studio at home. Something that's very, very important to all photographers who make prints, including myself, is color uniformity. And one of the big reasons to use a very, very high quality display like this is for uniformity. Now, when we talk about uniformity, what we're really talking about is edge-to-edge brightness. How even is the brightness across the screen in the display? Now, if you're working on a laptop display, or you have worked on a laptop display in the past, you'll no doubt be very, very familiar with the problem that the image is much brighter in the center than it often is on the edges. And the reason for that is that the quality of the displays, even in expensive laptops like this, is just not up to anywhere near the standard that you get in a high-end photo monitor like this from BenQ. So the luminosity is going to mean that the image illumination across the screen is extremely even. And that means that it's going to be very easy to gauge the differences, if there are any, between the image on the screen and the image when I actually go to make a print. So the easier that is, the easier it is to get a great result of print. So let's just talk for a moment about why a color calibrated monitor is so important if you're into photography or you are a photographer, be it whether you're a basic amateur who's just coming to photography for the first time or whether you're an advanced professional like myself who's been photographing for years and years. Color is very, very important to us as photographers, and when we're out in the field or working in a studio, we are taking our photographs and doing what we do. When we start to process and work on those photographs, we want to make sure that the color that we're seeing on the screen is the same as the color that we captured in real life, and then that color then translates into the final print or the final deliverable files as well. So color calibration is extremely important. Now, all of the BenQ displays, including this brand new SW272U, come calibrated from the factory. So that's what this piece of paper is here that you receive when you open the box, the calibration report. However, all of these displays can be hardware calibrated, meaning that you can do a calibration on the display to your specific standard. So you can set the brightness level that you want, the color temperature. Typically, in my case, that's going to be 6,500 degrees Kelvin, or roughly daylight. And then we can do a calibration to ensure that the monitor is performing as accurately as possible. So let's talk about some of the features that I really like in these BenQ monitors, and particularly in this brand new model, the SW272U. Now, the first thing for me is that matte finish in the screen. That's very important. When I'm making prints in the studio, I'm printing on matte paper. That's always my preference. And I want to be comparing a matte finish piece of paper to the matte finish on the screen. It's very important to me to try and get as close as I can in a screen to print match. So the matte screen in these new monitors, and I'm going to just put my glasses on so I can read this to you because I think it's an important piece of information to pass on. The actual BenQ actually call this a fine-coated reflection-free panel with TUV Rhinelared certification. Now, quite honestly, I don't know what that means, but what I do know is that it produces an outstanding result. when I'm doing screen to print matches, and that's what matters to me. The technicality, not so much. Something else that I really like in these monitors is this little hatch in the top here. When I'm calibrating the display with my colorimeter, I can just run the cable through this little hatch. I don't have to drape it down in front of the lens shade. That just makes life really easy. I love the fact that I can now charge my laptop without having to plug my laptop into power when I'm working remotely. I think that's also a fantastic feature. And the other thing I really love about these displays is the new calibration software, the PMU software that these ship with. It just makes calibrating these monitors such a dream. And we're going to come to that in a little while. So let's talk about the HotKey and what the HotKey actually does. So as I said, it's now wireless, and that's a big deal because I used to hate having to plug these things in via USB. Now I don't need to, and it can live anywhere on my desk in my studio. And what this actually does is it gives you a very fast way to go from an Adobe RGB color space to sRGB or even black and white. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, if you're proofing an image for the web, you've been working in Adobe RGB, which is a very big bucket of color, because you want to maintain as much color information in your photograph as you can. You've now finished working on your photograph and you want to put a copy of it on your website. It needs to be put in sRGB, which is the default color space of the web. A very fast way to proof it for that is to literally hit button 2 on the HotKey, and the monitor will show you what the image is going to look like in sRGB. Simply by pushing 1 again, I can jump back to the Adobe RGB color space. And if you're a black and white photographer and you want to proof it in black and white, you can quickly hit button 3 and straight away you're in an advanced black and white mode. That is really cool. And the fact that I can do this all wirelessly and have this sit anywhere in my studio, I think is just incredible. This is now a very useful tool for any photographers. You can also access the entire menu as well for the monitor, inputs. Everything is available to you from the HotKey, so you can very easily make adjustments on the fly without having to fiddle around at the back of the monitor or underneath the monitor. I really like this. I think this is a really cool new tool. I'm very pleased to see that they've gone wireless with this as well. I think that's a fantastic addition to this new range of monitors. Another nice feature, if you're a portrait photographer or you're working in a studio and you need to quickly show a client what the image is going to look like in black and white, HotKey is your answer. Just push button 3, straight away you're into an advanced black and white mode. Client can see what it looks like in black and white, and then they can make a decision. Yes, they want the black and white, or no, they prefer to go back to color. That's just a fantastic feature to have. Okay, also included on this new HotKey is a little button here called Info, and if you push that, the monitor will flash up a small dialog box showing you at what state it's currently in, whether it's in Adobe RGB mode, what gamma it's been calibrated to, in this case 2.2, the color temperature, and how your display is actually connected to your computer. That can be very useful information as well. Okay, we are now going to do a calibration of the brand new BenQ SW272U using the brand new Palette Master Ultimate software. So you can download this software from BenQ's website, and once you've downloaded it, you'll need to register and go through accepting the usual sort of terms and conditions for software. Once you've done that, you'll be greeted with a welcome page just like this, and on the left here we have the brand and model number of the display that we're about to calibrate. This is, in this case, this is the new BenQ SW272U. Now, this is the 4K display, and we're going to be calibrating it with an i1 Display Pro, which we'll select here from the drop-down, and that's connected via USB, and in just a moment that will pick up that is connected, and there we go, it's done. Now, there are 3 options here to choose from. And I'll just say that BenQ's new Palette Master Ultimate software is, I think, the easiest software I've yet come across for calibrating a display. It's very straightforward. It really is virtually follow the steps. So there are 3 options here: color calibration, advanced color adjust, and validation. Now we're going to do a color calibration because this is the first time we will have calibrated this display. Advanced color adjust, what that lets you do is to go in and adjust the individual saturation and hue of individual colors on top of a color calibration. So that can be useful in certain print situations. That can only be done, of course, once a calibration has been done, and we're not going to do that in this instance. We don't need to. We're just going to do a basic color calibration, and then of course you can do a validation on that as well. So we'll select color calibration. And then what we'll do is we have a number of drop-down presets here that BenQ provides us. So if you're not sure on what settings to choose, you can just select photography if you're doing stills photography, or web design if you're doing web design, or any of the others as appropriate. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up one I created earlier, a custom one, and I did that because I wanted to set the luminance value, or the candelas, to 80 candelas. That's an appropriate level in the studio here where I'm working to get great screen to print matches. We're going to leave gamma at 2.2, black point to absolute 0, and I also want to just edit this new target just to show you that there is an option here called Enhanced Gamma Calibration. And what that does is it will mean the calibration is going to take a little bit longer than normal, but you will get really fantastic grayscale gradation. So it takes a little bit longer, but it's just going to give you a much better result. So that's worth ticking as well. So we're done there. We've got our target settings correct. We then have an option of where we want to save this. So we're doing what's called a hardware calibration, which means that there are 3 slots inside the BenQ, calibration slot 1, 2, and 3, where we can store the calibration, the difference table, if you like, that's going to be uploaded to the monitor. I'm going to put it in calibration slot 1, and we'll click next. Now we have some warnings. These warnings are quite basic. The first of which is just to leave the monitor on for 30 to 60 minutes so it warms up properly. BenQ recommend using a USB-C cable. It's a good idea not to use HDMI, just because HDMI was developed as a TV standard and there are potential issues with using HDMI cables for this sort of work. They also advise to turn off screensaver and energy settings. And just on that, actually, if you are using a Mac, and I am calibrating with a Mac here in my studio, make sure you turn off True Tone in your system display settings. If you do not turn off True Tone, you are going to find that the calibration will fail. So that's very important. Apple tries to override the colors that you see on the screen by compensating and altering those colors. That will throw the calibration out, so be sure to turn that off. We're going to create a version 4 profile, and we're not going to use mirror mode. So I'll click next. We're now ready to start calibrating. We need to position the calibrator on top of the monitor display. It's a good idea to tilt the monitor back so that the colorimeter or the spectrophotometer that you're using is sitting perfectly flush on the screen. Once it's ready, we'll click next, and then we can start the calibration. And what's going to happen now, this will take about 10 to 15 minutes, is the BenQ Palette Master software will run through and it will show up a number of different patches, a number of different grayscales, and it will run through and calibrate itself. And you can see there it's now up to 1 of 28. And as I said, this will take about 10 to 15 minutes. And through the magic of movie making, we'll fast forward all of this so that you're not sitting here for the next 10 minutes while this calibrates, and then we'll come back to what happens when the software has completed the calibration. And once our calibration is complete, we get a calibration complete notice, and we can check the report. And we can see here straight away that the monitor has passed. It has a fantastic result here actually. We asked for 80 candelas, we got 79, that's extremely good. We asked for 6500 degrees Kelvin, we got 6508, that's also absolutely outstanding. But what is absolutely really amazing is that we got a delta E of just 0.74. That is phenomenal performance. And you can actually click on the more details link and see how the individual colors performed. This is about as good a result as you could potentially hope for on calibrating any sort of photographic display, and it's just extremely impressive. This report can of course be saved as well. I am really quite blown away by the quality of the calibration with the new BenQ Palette Master Ultimate software. I think this makes it extremely easy to get an absolutely amazing result, and it really takes the monitor to the next level. So in summary, I'm really happy with this new display, the SW272U from BenQ. The fact that it's 4K, the fact that it's full Adobe RGB, that the HotKey is now wireless, I love that. I love the fact that the display stand is so easy to adjust up and down, and I love the fact that I was able to put the whole thing together in just a few minutes without any tools. I think this is a display that's going to find a home in many photographers' homes and studios. Bang for buck performance, I really don't think this can be beaten. They get my highest recommendation.